Okay, hey readers, it's Andrea, and I was scrambling to figure out what I wanted to do for today's video. I was like, I haven't been reading too much. I've been on a better kick, but not anything crazy, and I don't have anything to review. I don't have anything new or exciting or anything like that. And it's halfway through the 2020. It's halfway through the year already. A little bit over now that we're in July, but what? I mean, this year's been so long, but I don't know. It's weird. But I have decided that I was going to do the 2020 mid-year Freakout tag. So if you see me look down, I have my handy-dandy notebook with all the questions, and I have my Goodreads account open to, reference everything if I need to. So I will be doing clips in this video as last time. I'm not going to keep saying that because it doesn't really matter. Nor does anyone care, I don't think. But I will get right into it and stick around for the outro because it's always a very fun time. Okay, so the first question I have is, how much have you read? And I have read 20 books out of 50 books, and my original goal was 75 because last year I went way over my 50 book reading goal. And I'm just not meeting it. So I figured if I lowered that number, it'd be easier to meet. So yes, I have read 20 books out of 50 books, which is really sad compared to some people. But hey, I have been enjoying what I've been reading. What is going on with my hair? I have been enjoying everything. So let's give credit where credit's due. So on the website, the little blog where I got all my questions, this lady had a pie chart, 2 pie charts for her books. And let me tell you, I ain't doing that. Especially because I don't know how to put things up here. But the next question is, what have you been reading? And I'm going to quickly go through the list, the actual list, and each genre, and the rating to give you a feel of what I've been reading since the beginning of the year. So, first book I read this year, going to the last, obviously, is Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli, which is a historical fiction novel that takes place during World War II and the Holocaust. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was City of Heavenly Fire, which is the 6th book in the Mortal Instruments series. I gave that 5 out of 5 stars, and that is a YA fantasy. Then I read Cry the Beloved Country, which is a historical fiction novel that takes place in Africa, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The Irish Princess by Mickey Clement, 4 out of 5 stars. That's also historical fiction that takes place in my hometown of Troy, New York. Home city, technically. In a Perfect World by Laura Kasice, which is a dystopian future novel. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is the 4th book in the Harry Potter series. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. And it is a middle grade or YA fantasy. Orange is the New Black, My Year in a Woman's Prison by Piper Kerman. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars, and that was a memoir. Dear Nobody, The True Diary of Mary Rose by Gillian McCain, who's just technically the editor. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. That is just journal entries from Mary Rose. Lady Midnight, The Dark Artifices, book number 1, 5 out of 5 stars. That's by Cassandra Clare. I just stopped saying who the author was. That is also a YA fantasy. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. I also have a review on that. I will link that. I'll make a mental note to link that. That is a coming-of-age story, I guess you can call it. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is Harry Potter Book 5 by J.K. Rowling. 5 out of 5 YA fantasy. The Help by Catherine Stockett, 5 out of 5. Historical fiction, takes place in 1960 something Jackson, Mississippi, I believe. Christine by Stephen King, 4 out of 5 stars. That is a horror or thriller. Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, that I gave 2 out of 5 stars, and that was a YA contemporary. The Surprise Party, Fear Street, book number 2 by R.L. Stine, 3 out of 5 stars. That that is technically a horror book, a YA horror. The Last Scream, Fear Park number 3 by R.L. Stine, 2 out of 5, another horror book. The Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Henriquez, 5 out of 5 stars, another YA contemporary. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, 5 out of 5, a historical fiction that takes place during World War II in France. And The Graduate's Handbook, Your No-Nonsense Guide for What Comes Next by Clark Gather. I didn't give it a rating because it was just a little self-help book. So that's what I've been reading this year. I just closed my Goodreads. Next question. So, I just had to get up to get my books, and I'll scoot over. So, the next question is, what was the best book you've read in 2020? So far, obviously. That wasn't comfortable to sit like that. I couldn't decide. So, I have 2 books. I have The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and I have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And I'll talk about these for a minute. I know that I just mentioned them, but I gave them both 5 out of 5 stars. I can recognize the flaws in them, and they are new favorites of mine. So, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, if you haven't heard me talk about this book, I borrowed it from a cousin. It is a World War II historical fiction novel that is set in France and follows 2 sisters as they reunite and become... One becomes basically this person who will help fallen pilots go back over the French border, and the other one stays in the countryside and eventually helps Jewish children escape from going to the concentration camps. It's pretty long, a little over 600 maybe, a little under, a little over, give or take about 600 pages, and it's really good. I loved the writing of it, I loved the characters, they were very easy to remember, I loved the storyline, and it was just really, really good, so I highly recommend that. And my other favorite book I read was The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I read this for AP English back when school was still a thing and just coming out of school because of COVID. And it is a coming-of-age story that is probably also known as a modern classic, I believe, almost 100%. I do have a review on this. Like I said, I will leave it below, linked below, because I just really love this book. So I'm going to let that review speak for itself. But yeah, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It is a coming-of-age fiction novel about this kid named Holden Caulfield, who gets kicked out of a bunch of schools and eventually decides, I'm going to go to New York before my parents figure it out, because that's where he's from, and kind of have a little fun while I'm at it. It made me laugh out loud. It made me cry. It's very good. Again, I will let the review speak for itself, and I'm making a second mental note to make sure that I link it below for everyone to see. Okay, next question is the best sequel I've read so far in 2020. Again, I haven't read a ton of books. Most of them were standalones or part of series, so I would read the first one or anything like that. But my favorite sequel I read was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. This is actually my favorite Harry Potter book in general, besides whatever the third one is. What's the third one? Prisoner of Azkaban. Excuse me, that's gross. If you don't know, this is my first read of Harry Potter, first time watching the movies. I didn't know anything going in. And I really, really liked Order of the Phoenix. I loved the characters, I loved the storyline. It was just a lot better for me than anything else. I absolutely hated Order of the Phoenix, so that was very difficult to get through. But this wasn't. This was really fun. I had a really good time reading it, and for all you Harry Potter stands out there, this is my favorite, and part of that might be because it's blue, because I'm a proud Ravenclaw, if you wanted to know. So the next question is a new release that I haven't read yet but want to, and that would be, I think this came out this year. That would be Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the new first book in the Last Hours series. I did get the collector's first edition because I stan Cassandra Clare. This is basically following, if you know anything about the Infernal Devices series, this follows a group of those characters' children in the Edwardian era of London, fighting shadow hunters and going through things that kids go through, I'm guessing. I don't know that much about it. If Cassandra Clare comes out with a new book, I'm automatically jumping on it. I don't care what it's about. Basically what I said is all I know about it. Sorry, I just caught a whiff of that new book smell, and it was so nice. So yes, I have not read this yet. I very much want to, but I am trying to get through the rest of my Cassandra Clare books before I touch this, which includes, but is not limited to, Lord of Shadows, Queen of Barren Darkness, Shadowhunters Codex, Red Scrolls of Magic, Bane Chronicles, Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, Ghosts of the Shadow Market, her steampunk short story, and yeah, then I'll start on this because I will do the Iron Trial series separately. I'm not sure when I'll touch up on that. But yes, I don't think I have anything more to say about this, so let's go to the next question instead of blabbering. Okay, so next question is the most anticipated release for the rest of 2020, the second half. And I'm just going to pull out its predecessor. We're going to talk about Cassandra Clare one more time. It will be the sequel to the Red Scrolls of Magic, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Let's check my Amazon. But basically, this is an adult fiction series by Cassandra Clare instead of young adult, and it follows my favorite couple, Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood, and just kind of their adventures. I'm sure there's a bigger plot to that. Again, I haven't read this yet, but I always anticipate Cassandra Clare's new releases. So, of course, I will be buying it the day of, or as close to the day of as possible. Last time I pre-ordered, it was just a mess. I pre-ordered the 10th anniversary edition of Clockwork Angel and had to cancel my order and reorder it. So we will not be doing that again. But the name of the book is Lost Book of the White. And here's my other problem. I bought this cover, right? And the cover for the next book looks like this, and I want it to look like this. So we're going to try to figure out how to get this cover, because I want it to match this. But yes, that is my most anticipated release of the second half of 2020. It'll be that book. My biggest disappointment of the year is a book that I also did a review for, and I will also leave that linked below. I read Emergency Contact by H.K. Choi. I didn't really know a lot about it going into it. I knew that it was a YA romance or a YA contemporary. I knew that it was an easy read and it was a quick read, and I knew that I heard a lot of mixed reviews, as I said. That was another book. The same person who let me borrow The Nightingale, ironically, also lent me Emergency Contact, and that has already been given back to her. I just didn't like Emergency Contact. It's basically about this girl named Penny who is starting her freshman year at college, and it also follows this kid named Sam who's a couple years older and just kind of has like this really troubled past, and then they meet and stuff goes from there, and just normal young adult things. I don't really want to talk about it. I, again, will leave my review linked below, so you can go check that out if you do want to hear me ramble about it, and if not, that's just that you're getting for now. So, next question. The biggest surprise is the next question, and for me, that would be In a Perfect World by Laura Casice? I've always had a problem saying her name. I think that it was such a big surprise because I'm an idiot and didn't even look at the synopsis before I started this. It has a similar cover to The Things They Carried, which I don't have here, that's at my dad's house, but if you know what that looks like, if you've ever read it, you know it's a similar cover. I thought this was going to be like a World War II book, some sort of historical fiction, and it's not. As I said before, it is a dystopian future novel, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked it. Like, going into it, I was like, well, this is weird. Weird timing, too. It was when COVID was first kind of coming into the United States. Weird timing, bad timing, but anyways, it's really good. It follows a woman named Giselle who marries a pilot. She was a flight attendant, she married him, and basically now has to stay home with his 3 daughters who hate her, 2 daughters and a son who hate her, while he gets quarantined on a cruise ship in Germany. And this like big sickness comes to the United States, and it shows the downfall of society, and it's pretty short for all that. The ending I really liked. It was very mysterious and really tied the book together very well, but I was not expecting to like this as much as I did. Obviously, I'm still holding on to it. Any book that I'm still holding on to, I probably really liked because I've been donating my books as I go along. So, yeah. Definitely a big surprise that I enjoyed a lot. So the next question is new favorite author, and I've dived into a couple new authors and revisited some, and I don't really have a new favorite. I kind of been in the air about a favorite author. I mean, I think that if anyone were to ask, I'd probably say Cassandra Clare. And I would have probably said Stephen King for this, but as I read his books, I wouldn't say he's a favorite, but I do enjoy his writing style. This is not a video to talk about Stephen King, though. I don't really have a new favorite author, and I think that that's kind of difficult. I can make guesses as to who would be my favorite author as I read more of other authors' things, but this year I don't really have one so far. I've been reading a lot of standalones. I've been reading a lot of disappointments and just only a couple things. So, I mean, if you're going off of 20 books, like I am, there aren't that many authors to go off of, which is fine. I just don't have a new favorite right now. So this next question is about underrated gems, and I think that In a Perfect World is definitely an underrated gem. If you see this, pick it up. I highly recommend it. But we've already talked about her. So I'm going to be talking about the Book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Henriquez. This is a YA contemporary that is a new favorite of mine. I guess if we were going to talk about favorite author, I really, really loved her writing style and connected with her on a little bit of a deeper level. But this book is a pretty short contemporary novel, as I said, that follows immigrants coming over to the United States and living in Delaware. Two families, one who's been there for a while and one who is new because their daughter had an accident and needs to go to a special school and needs the better medical care than they could have gotten in Mexico. And it just follows a lot of different families from a lot of different countries, Panama, Mexico, as I said, Puerto Rico, I believe, is in there, and a couple of other spots that are escaping my mind right now. But I really like this. I'm surprised not as many people talk about this. I got this last year as a book award during my junior year of high school. And it's just really good. The writing style is there. It follows some points of views. I think the pacing is where it needs to be, and the ending is just heart-shattering, but needed to happen. And I think not knowing that much about what immigrants face, I've never had to be put into like that perspective. Like, I have looked at that perspective. I just mean I've never had to be in a situation like that. I think it had good representation, but obviously I'm not the person who should be speaking about what I thought the representation was like, because I don't have to face these challenges, but I really liked it. I feel like it's important, and I feel like more people should talk about it. Okay, I only had one reread this year, because I'm taking my sweet time reading my Cassandra Clare books, and that would be Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is my second time reading this, I think, and then after that, it's pretty much my first time reading the other ones. Oh, I'm sorry, I had a couple other rereads. I also had reread Milkweed and The Irish Princess, but this one was still my favorite. I mean, I don't really need to talk about Cassandra Clare too much. I love her writing, I love the characters, I love the story, I love the diversity, and I just really, really love her, and yeah, the other books just weren't up to par, so that's my favorite reread. And the other ones, like I said, I did reread, but they weren't a favorite. Oh, I also did read Rereads City of Heavenly Fire. That was also a reread, but I think, no, that's not fair. I think I enjoyed City of Heavenly Fire more for the story, and like wrapping up a series that is very near and dear to my heart. But I think that Lady Midnight I enjoyed more for the characters and starting up a story. So they're very close, but I did also reread City of Heavenly Fire. For a book that made me cry, I'm going to talk about The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna again. Probably my favorite book so far of the year, I'm not going to lie. If you follow me on Instagram, I believe, or if you're friends with me on Facebook, like if you're a close family member or friend watching this as well, thank you for the support, as always, from everybody, but, you know. I bawled my eyes out at this book. I have not bawled my eyes out at a book in such a long time, and this book, oh, I was weeping, like 2 o'clock in the morning, just weeping at this book. So I don't really need to talk about it anymore. I can't talk about what made me cry without spoilers, but really, 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 really good. Highly recommend this book. Alright, next up is a book that made me happy, and I will be talking about Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. This is a memoir about this woman, Piper, who got in trouble for drug trafficking and helping her ex-girlfriend with drug trafficking, and had to go to a women's prison in Danbury, Connecticut, a minimal security prison in Danbury, Connecticut for that. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's like a four-wheeler or dirt bike or something. Maybe it was my train of thought. Anyways, it's just a really good read. Didn't make me cry or anything. I felt like it was pretty representative of like what it's like in a woman's prison. Even though it was coming from the perspective of a white prisoner, I still think that she kind of got a grasp for like differences, like how different races experience different discrimination in prisons. Not like it's easy for anybody, but we're not here to advocate for prisoners' rights right now. We're talking about books. if you've seen the show, I like this better. This was obviously more accurate. A lot of things in the show didn't happen to her. I would say after the first season it really like goes off. Piper never had to go to maximum security or anything, except for when she was awaiting to testify at a trial. So I really like this. It made me really happy to read. I enjoyed reading it. It didn't really take me long, and I had a really good time. So yeah. This next question is most beautiful book bought or received, and I'll be talking about The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And I don't really know that much about this book. I know that I have wanted to read it since it came out. I know that this cover is very pretty. I know that I love circuses, and I know that the author and I technically have the same name. If you didn't know, my real name is Erin. I just go by Andrea here. Wow, shocker. It's what I do. People do it all the time. And, you know, this book is just really pretty. I like the draperies on the inside. But let me tell you how I got this book. I like little free libraries. If I finish a book and I don't have an emotional connection to it, I will donate it with a little bookmark and a note saying, hey, thanks, good read that you picked out here. This book came from a little free library, which is insane. It is basically brand new. Obviously it looks like it's been read, but nothing crazy. It's in great condition. It's a hardcover, and it had this nifty bookmark in it that says, do your part, save the earth. Can it? So yes, this is probably the prettiest book that I've received this year. Did I get The Clockwork Angel 10th anniversary this year? Is that when that came out? Because that's also very pretty, but I've talked about that a lot on here. And I didn't get Queen of Air and Darkness this year, but that's also a very pretty book that I will be reading this year. So I'm not even going to cut to the last question. I'll just talk about it. The last question is my goals. And obviously my biggest goal is to get to at least 50 books. Excuse me. That's the easiest goal I can probably reach. But I think that even more than that, I want to continue to read more diverse books and read books that I haven't read before, which I've been doing alright at. And I definitely want to pick up the reading speed. I'm not going to say, oh, my real goal is still to read 75 books, which would be fantastic. But if I keep my goal low, then it'll help me, you know, want to read more and easier. But I do want to pick up the reading pace. I feel like that's very important to me, that I have been reading so slow and slugging with it. So I think that's all I have to talk about. It's getting hot. I have 2 lights right on me. It's already like 90 degrees out. So the things I do for you guys. So I really hope you enjoyed watching. All my social media is linked down below. And if you have any recommendations for bookish content, I'm all ears. And I will see you next time. Bye!